Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Computer America Show. It's all about games tonight. We have a terrific lineup for you in the second hour of the show. We're going to have Hammerfall Publishing talking about their newest game. Ben's going to actually be demonstrating it. It's called Warhammer, and it looks really
Warhammer 40K Regicide. Warhammer is
until showtime.
Warhammer is a long storied franchise that I'm sure many people have heard about, but their latest game is chess-based called Regicide.
And then the first hour, we're going to have Ubitus is going to be joining as John Rizzo as the Senior Vice President of the company. We're going to be talking to him as well about cloud, Game Cloud. Okay, and so sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we begin 2 hours of Computer America.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
The Computer America Show is brought to you by Bell Ringers. It's newer than news when you're right there as it first debuts. Visit our sponsor's website at bellringersmedia.com. Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Computer America Show here on the eve of Windows 10.
Yeah, yep. Last night was Eve. Tonight is just the Eve.
That's right. It was the eve of the eve, and tonight it's the eve of Windows 10. That means tomorrow morning people will be waking up from their beds, and under the tree they'll find wrapped window. No, wait, that's the wrong holiday.
Wrong holiday. No, under their system panel they will find Windows 10 ready to start downloading in the background.
That's if you have Windows 7, Windows 8, or 8.1, and you said that you wanted it for free. You had to do that. You can still do it, but I mean, if you did that, you're all set to go. You should find a copy of Windows 10 waiting for you to be installed. But if not, it'll certainly be there in the next. I know that they're not doing it to everyone at once because that would be impossible.
Yeah, and just to be perfectly clear about the whole thing. You have up to a calendar year to install Windows 10 for free. So don't feel urged, don't feel pressured. We've been talking a lot about it and how excited we are about it, but you have a full calendar year to make up your mind if you want to do this. So don't go rushing into anything the first week.
Right.
If you aren't comfortable.
Right, exactly. And if you, for all you Mac users out there, if you have Mac OS 10 and you're running Parallels on your computer, well, then you just need to have the latest version of Parallels installed, which is a 10.2.2 build 29105. You'll need to have that before you can install Windows 10 on your Mac. But if you do have that, then you're all set and ready to go. And it's going to be an exciting week. We have lots of time to talk about it. We just had Michael Miller talking about some of the final things for the installation of Windows 10. But that's the big news. So look for it on your computer tomorrow morning. Perhaps when you wake up, it'll be there waiting for you, waving. Hi, Windows 10. All right. So before we get started, let me just tell you how you can get in on the action. If you have a comment or a question for our guest tonight, you can contact us one of two ways. The easiest is pick up the phone, give us a call. 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. 8881 will get you on and get you through. You can also, if you're a little radio shy and you don't want to go on the air, but you still have a question or comment for our guests, you can go to our webpage at computeramerica.com and just click on the Show Lounge selection on the pull-down menu. There you'll see Ask a Question, Submit a Question. Just put your email address, your name, and your question, and click the Submit button, and Ben and I will see it. And if we feel that it's something that's relevant to what we're talking about, we will certainly ask or make the comments or suggestions. So another way that you can interact with us. Also, when you do that, by the way, forewarn, because we're a radio talk show, but we also stream our live video. We have live video, right? And so you can see things. We're not only a radio talk show, you can see it. And if you look at the way you'll see the video is it'll start up automatically when you go to the Show Lounge. And you'll see myself, you can see Ben, you can see our guest tonight. For both hours, they'll be in the on the live video stream. But the really cool thing is that Ben has the technology to display what the guest is talking about. So in the background, his large head will go to a little tiny head in the corner, and you'll be able to see the videos, you'll be able to see the website, and everything, so you kind of see what we're talking about. So it just enriches the experience of what we call Computer America. So again, 347-884-8881. Anything you want to mention before we have our first guest on tonight?
Just one thing is that tonight in the second hour, as you mentioned earlier, Hammerfall Publishing is going to be with us, and we highly encourage you to check out the video feed for that particular one. Normally we try to center the show around, a lot of you listen to the audio feed only, as a podcast, and that's perfectly fine. It's great. But in the second hour, that's really going to be a treat for the video watchers, because the footage that we're going to be showing is a Computer America exclusive. Ooh. Where the nice people over there were kind enough to send over content that has not even been released to anyone yet. So this is going to be a first here on the show for them and for us as well. And so all this content, you will only be able to see it on Computer America until I want to say Friday, when they release the patch to everyone else. But as of right now, this video footage is for Computer America eyes only.
And I understand our guests will be coming in via Australia too.
Yep.
So, all right. So a little bit of ways from us. All right. So let's get to our first hour guest tonight. Ubitus is the name of the company. It's a technology leader in deploying cloud-enabled rich media services, offering innovative cloud computing solutions, including patented Game Cloud for device manufacturers, wired and wireless communication service providers, telecommunications operators, and digital content developers. Tonight, you'll hear all about the world's first commercial cloud gaming platform supporting MMORGs and in-app purchases too. Now, joining us is John Rizzo, Ubitus's Senior Vice President. John, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Hi, Craig. I'm doing well tonight. Thanks for having me on.
Okay.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
Very glad to have you here, John. So you heard my opening comments, but obviously I'm sure you can do it so much better, because after all you work for Ubitus. Why don't you tell us in your words exactly what this is all about?
Well, Ubitus is a interactive media streaming company with a specialization on the game space and allowing games to play over the cloud, over any network, on any screen. And that's really our value proposition.
It sounds to me like you are embracing the original concept of the Internet. It was supposed to be platform independent. It didn't matter what browser you had, didn't matter what computer you had. You were supposed to be able to go to anywhere on the Internet and be able to do everything, and that never really panned out. You had to have, if you had.
Well, those pesky things like smartphones and tablets, I don't think they were even like a glimmer, when the Internet was being created.
But even on the computer, I mean, if you had a Mac, if you didn't have Internet Explorer when you went to your bank, sorry, we can't help you. It was it was very
That's what you get for using a Mac and Internet Explorer. Shame on you.
Yes, exactly. But it sounds to me like you're trying to be level the playing field. Anybody can come and play games with Ubitus. Is that correct?
That's a really a great way to look at it, Craig, because not just from the user's point of view of being able to pick up any of their devices, and not just their smartphones and their tablets and their PCs and their Macs, but their set-top boxes, their over-the-top boxes, their smart TVs, their smart Blu-ray disc players, all of those devices, and be able to reach game catalogs. But not just users, developers also. Developers, are stuck in this world of I have to develop for a platform, and I have to port to multiple platforms. And one of the joys of cloud gaming is one platform, and we can reach all the rest of the screens for you.
Wow, that's nice. And you're successful at doing this?
We're doing very well. We are a Taiwanese headquartered company. Mm-hmm. And our position in Asia is very strong. We have 100% market share in Korea, very strong market share in Japan, China, Taiwan, and we have two very large projects that are happening here in the U.S. that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Okay. Now, when you mention the cloud, a lot of us think of storage. Cloud storage. It's just a place to store all your stuff, your pictures and your music and everything. Now, I understand online gaming certainly makes so bringing this cloud concept to gaming, are there certain advantages to doing this?
There's advantages across the board for end users and for developers. Mm-hmm. To explain a little bit of what that means, what cloud gaming means, what you're doing is you're taking the responsibility for the hardware, which right now is either on your PC, your Mac, or your console, mm-hmm. Or your other device, mm-hmm. And you're taking that hardware responsibility and you're shifting it into the network. And so what we do is we run these very powerful servers. They're actually very powerful gaming machines in the background that run your game, mm-hmm. and we send you a stream of that game.
Okay.
And you interact with that stream through a client.
Now, when you usually have things like that, when you're storing pictures or you're looking at things, lag isn't really that big a deal. But when you're playing a game, obviously, responsiveness of the system when you do
the latency.
The latency can be a problem. Is that proving to be a problem, or how do you overcome that with cloud gaming?
That's one of our areas of deep expertise. We look at all of the different pieces, stopping points, and we deal with latency and optimizations at each of those areas. So we spend a lot of time working with system-on-a-chip vendors so that rendering can happen very quickly on the client. We work on Bluetooth technologies to reduce the latency between the controller and the game. Our computers, our servers, and our systems on the back end run games far faster than any console or PC can run those games, so that we have extra time to make up for the real bottleneck, which is the network itself. Now, depending on where you are in the world, that latency number is very different. Here in the US, 30, 40 milliseconds on the network. Korea, 5 milliseconds. Japan, 5 milliseconds.
Yeah.
But it's getting better here in the US.
Thankfully, as FiOS and things like the gigabit connections are starting to make themselves more.
Yeah, I think just for the fellow gamers that I talk to, it's like their latency is one of the biggest issues nowadays, because a lot of games you can vary the settings to match pretty much any hardware, but for latency, that's a problem for everyone, because you may think that the difference between 8 milliseconds and 80 milliseconds isn't that much, but then there are people who are playing with 140 up to 250, and it just gets to the point where in games, especially when you're playing with other people and it's a competitive environment, that latency makes all the difference.
It certainly does, and it really depends on the type of game and the genre of game that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at hardcore competitive AAA games, those players and those users are very latency sensitive, and they can feel the difference. True hardcore gamers can feel the difference, but a 10 or 20 millisecond difference.
Yeah.
So we work very hard to bring games in at extremely playable rates. We also work with our partners on the proper games for this type of platform, games that are latency tolerant. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like first-person shooters, they're great, but they're best served in like a LAN scenario or very low very low latency, because the moment when you pull the trigger and hopefully you get that headshot makes all the difference by just a couple milliseconds.
Oh yeah, exactly. It can make the night and day difference. There's no question about it.
But I would guess something like turn-based strategy or Hearthstone or something like that, you guys must be able to handle that pretty easily.
Right, and even even more interactive games like some of the racing games and some of the Lego games, they play very well under these conditions. But even some of the first-person shooters will play very well. It really depends on the tolerance of the player themselves and the network. So if you go to Korea and you're playing a first-person shooter over a cloud system, you're playing at almost the exact same latency as you're playing on a console. Now, here in the US, our network latency is a little bit more than that. So from the time you press the button to the time something happens on the screen is about 120 milliseconds. And real Twitch gamers are used to about 90 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds. So it's not that big of a difference, but your Twitch hardcore gamers can feel that. But all of your other games, and you mentioned a lot of them, your turn-based games, your Monopoly games, your card games, your Lego games, your racing games, your hidden object games, all of those play really well, and you feel almost no latency on those.
Okay. Now,
real quick, just as someone who's been building gaming PCs for the past decade, and knowing the guts that go into these things, and then I've seen a couple servers, and they're just all the graphics cards and processing power that you could possibly ever imagine. But I mean, from just from a money standpoint, are you finding this cost effective as time goes on? Because it can't be cheap to build all these things. Like, is the trade-off of you spending all the money up front to build these servers compensated? Because now let's say you have a server, 10,000 people don't have to go out and buy a gaming PC. Like, are you actually making savings by building servers to take the load instead of having everyone bring their own device?
That's exactly what I talked about earlier, this shifting of the hardware. The key to making that work and making the business model work on that, Ben, is density per server. And that is one of Ubitus's very special technology areas, is the number of what we call concurrent users we can have per U, and that's per rack, per rack space and on a server. And that's what makes it cost effective, is being able to have that number be very high and basically take the place of 30, 40, 50 consoles.
Let me ask you, I still want to wrap my mind about this. So obviously you can have the fastest computer in the world, but if you have a slow pipeline, which we're talking about the internet, that's not going to make much difference. And even all the technology in the world. So what is it that you're doing that's going to ensure the kind of rates that you're talking about, even here in the United States? Is it something that you have some control over, or are you at the mercy of the backbone of the internet, just like everybody else?
Excuse me. In some of the cases, and we work with some of our partners, we do have some influence over the bandwidth that's being used.
Okay. Right.
And getting Premier pipe bandwidth, but even over open internet, the areas that we have control over are how we adjust the stream itself for the network conditions, so that we keep gameplay smooth.
Okay.
So one of the things we do is, on the fly, we dynamically change things like frame rate, resolution, so that we can keep the gameplay smooth as network conditions shift and vary.
It's sort of like what we're doing here on Hangouts, Google Hangouts. If it's got great bandwidth with high definition, but it will adjust itself down if it needs to, so it tries to keep things going smoothly. And so it's probably a similar technology. If you're watching the video, sometimes you'll see HD on your screen, and then sometimes that HD will go away, and because the Hangouts is adjusting the dots, the frame rate, everything to try to accommodate the bandwidth that it senses. And so obviously this is what you're doing, but you're applying it toward game playing, and that's amazing. I actually had never heard of that before until you started talking about that with your company.
The small difference there is that we do that with no frame buffer.
Ah, okay. All right.
So that means like the quality stays consistent. You can't tell that it's starting to throttle itself or it's starting to go down. It's just to the end user it all just plays as smoothly as possible.
Exactly.
That's it. That's really something. And there are a lot of other amazing things. I want to talk more about the people who play it, but if you're a developer and they're using your service, I understand that they have the ability to deliver a game to the market unfinished and then complete the game based on player usage? How does that?
Well, what you're starting to talk about is what is really the future of cloud gaming, because what our discussion has been so far has been what cloud gaming is right now.
Okay. All right.
Now, what's coming up in the very near future is the value of cloud gaming as a platform to developers. And those, some of those things lie in areas like you just mentioned, just-in-time development, which I'll talk a little bit about, and localization and customization, and greater computational access, and being able to migrate games across screens and devices. So there's a lot of value that comes in for game developers. And let me talk a little bit about what you just brought up, just-in-time development. Because the game is situated on a server, you're not downloading anything. You're not downloading patches. You're not installing the game or any part of the game locally.
Okay.
So game developers can deliver games to market even before the game is finished, or they can change the game based on user feedback or usage models. Because we're tracking all of that. We see everything that players are doing, every click, everything they do in the game. That's all part of the data of what's happening in gameplay. And game developers can take that data back, and they can adjust their game. They can put a game out unfinished and finish the game based on what users are doing. So it's a really interesting model that's available to developers.
What genre of game or what kind of game do you think have you been seeing that with app-based games like for phones and tablets, or are you seeing that with you mentioned MMORPGs, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, and that kind of thing? Like which games are you finding are using those analytics to their full extent?
Well, I think all games are using those type of user analytics, as deeply as they possibly can. All publishers, but I think what I'm talking about here, this just-in-time development, would be very well suited for your storytelling games.
Okay, So you could see if let's say someone skipped this this cinematic, someone skipped this, someone skipped that, or they just turn around and didn't finish it right. Like they can take all that and kind of say, okay, they're having trouble with this part, this part's getting skipped, this part's boring, this one's losing their attention, like those kinds of analytics.
Did he hear? Did you hear it, John? Oh, I think we lost John.
Might be to that cough.
Could be. Well, we'll get John back. In the meantime, we got a question from one of our listeners. We'll answer it really quickly. Again, this is a submitted question. It wasn't for John, so we'll just take this moment of opportunity to mention it quickly. And it comes from Brian, and he just simply asks, he says, should I upgrade to Windows 10? That's a loaded question if I ever heard one. We could spend a lot of time, but I think to quickly answer it, we answered most of it last night. I mean, if you're not, if it checks your hardware and you have the software to do it, then
am I back?
Yes, you're back. Yes, you're back. Okay. Well, let me just finish this question. We had a question from a listener. I said, if you want to wait a week or so, let things kind of work its way out, then go ahead and upgrade to Windows 10. It will give yourself a week or so. But if you're just chomping at the bit and you want to do it, and your system is set to, and it says, yeah, you're cleared to do it, then go for it. Just make sure that you make backups of everything, and also make sure that the programs that you use on a daily basis are compatible with Windows 10. Most are, but that's just what our recommendation. Okay, so John, you're back, and evidently we had a little glitch, but so Bennett asked you a question, and I think you were kind of
just a little bit of hiccup, and we were just talking about the analytics and how for story modes that would be imperative, where you could kind of tell if people were skipping a cinematic or they were having trouble with a certain puzzle kind of style, and I guess that's going to be the norm, where game developers aren't just going to be because kind of before, when you put out a game, you had an alpha, you had a beta, and then you released. But now they can kind of change it on the fly based on this feedback that you're just getting passively.
And more than that, community feedback. I mean, we see great interaction between community and developers in things like Kickstarter programs for games. And so you can think about this as just-in-time reaction to community feedback for games.
Exactly. All right. And again, this is all stuff that's coming down the road. You were just talking about just-in-time development, and basically you can use these technologies when as a storyteller. Basically, is what you're doing.
Absolutely, and even adjust for users based on localization and customization. So let's take in-game ads.
Okay.
You've got billboards in games, and you put up brand X on that billboard. Well, we can change that to be local brand X depending upon where you're connecting.
That's very cool. That reminds me so much of like when you watch a baseball game today or a football game, especially the baseball game. All the ads and banners that you see on the billboards are actually, even though with the camera it looks like they're there, they're not really there. They can actually change those and localize them to where you are, whatever city you're walking in.
Exactly, and this technology gives that opportunity to game developers to take advantage of all of the information they have about their players' age and play habits and location and all of that kind of information to deliver high-value targeted advertisement. It's an area that Ubitus looks at very closely. We have one of our products in our cloud gaming portfolio is called Click to Play, and what we do is we allow game developers to have a banner ad, and a user can click on that and just start playing the game immediately, and then play for 2 minutes and drop right into a purchase. So we understand reaching audience, targeted advertisement, and how powerful it is to have this back end that that allows you to disseminate that very differently based on localization and other other attributes.
I'm just trying to put on my gamer hat here and kind of think about how something like this, like it's hard for me to imagine that if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing, that depending on your demographics, depending on your area, depending on everything, ads seem like such a small part of certain video games, but every one of these people are going to get a different playing experience. If even if it's something as small as in-app advertising, like that small part is still still works into how was my overall experience in this game. Like, isn't there a worry that it might get too not it's too integrated, or too far into the basic root of the game? There we go.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up, Ben, and as we talk about these things with the developer community, these kinds of questions come up, and how do we adjust to the new platform is really part of this cloud gaming 3.0 paradigm.
All right, and we're going to get more into it here, but we're at the bottom of the hour break, John. So we're going to take a
half an hour flew by.
Yeah, yeah. It just flies. Time flies when you're having a good time, and this is extremely interesting. But we are talking to Ubitus. John Rizzo is here with us, the Senior Vice President of Ubitus, and we're talking about cloud gaming 3.0, and what it means to you, the actual consumer, the player, and even the developer. A lot of opportunities. We're going to continue on with them. You have a News Tips Bulls review from Marty Winston coming up. Stay tuned for more Computer America.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Citizens of the Third Planet.
Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Rack Solutions mat and strap. We've talked about adapting small desktop-style gear, home control gear, small things, to rack mounting by tying things to the Rack Solutions vented shelf that we've covered. One of their more useful rack accessories for helping that happen is their Velcro One-Wrap cable strap. A single length, 180 inches long, on a roll, with hooks on one side and loops on the other, so slipping it through vent slots on either side of any kind of tiny little box can snug that down to a shelf. It's also good, of course, for bundling cables together and tying them to inside struts, much as we do when building a PC. They also sent their thin anti-slip mat, a nice way to keep cabling from shoving gear around. Bottom line, Rack Solutions anti-slip mat and Velcro one-wrap cable strap help make rack builds sweeter by being neater. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Thank you, Marty Winston, for that news tip bulletin review. 33 minutes past the hour in the first hour, and we are talking to Ubitus, and Mr. John Rizzo is here with us, and we're just getting into some of the new features that they're offering there, and we lightly touched on one that I really want to get back into because I have fond memory of being in high school, middle school, where they'd blocked every single website that had video games, and we were sad. But there was an ad, I believe it was for Orbits. It was like a putt-putt golf game. It came up in like a side banner ad, and you could play that and kind of play like a putt-putt golf in an ad. And that was awesome. Like, we didn't feel like that we were being targeted by advertising. We weren't feeling taken advantage of. It was a fun thing to do. And it sounds like you guys have found a way to take that a step further with this click to play, which turns just a basic. I'll let you get into it. But what platforms is click to play going to be coming to?
Click to play is a full browser solution. So any HTML5 enabled browser can support the click to play model, and it's not just simple games. It's all games, because anything that we can stream, we can drop into one of these interactive banners, and you, as the end user, don't need to download anything. You just click and play.
So like, that is amazing to me, because there's so many games out there that if you want to play the demo, you have to go download something. If you want to play this, you can play that, and you're saying that any game that signs up with your service, it could be anything from the new WoW expansion all the way out to the next Call of Duty or Battlefield, and so on and so forth. Anything that anyone that signs up with you, you can just drop their game in, and I would assume some kind of pre-planned little snippet of gameplay, but you can just drop that in there.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And users can interact with that, and we can drop, after they interact with that, we can drop the user right into a purchase path for that content.
Oh, yeah, and so it would, obviously it would work, somewhat similar to a banner ad where it would, redirect you to the proper website, but that is, really just so convenient, because you get to, play a little bit of a demo, and then if you like it, you can, you get dropped right in, go in, buy it. I'm assuming that, they'll either take it to a digital distribution service like Steam or something like that, or to their website, however they want to do it, but that's going to make finding games, or at least advertising games, that's, I'm sorry ahead of time, but that's a game changer.
Yeah, we think so. We think so, and we think that giving end users that very easy, very quick opportunity to access and experience those games will certainly drive more traffic into the game developers' websites, onto their buy pages, into the stores, whatever the store may be.
Now, okay, so are you going to be competing with setups like Steam? Or do you perceive you're being a competitor to Steam?
No, not at all. Steam is a company that we currently have conversations with, and we have technologies that are very complementary to what they do.
So you see yourself kind of fitting in with, in other words, you're not really a competitor to companies like that. You're just providing additional tools or services.
Well, I don't think Ubitus is an electronic distributor of games. Like, you can't go to ubitus.com and go buy the latest Final Fantasy. But they have tools that can help Steam get the word out about that, though.
And other things. So Steam has great distribution, and they're currently I'm sure you guys know about Steam Link for in-home streaming of Steam content, but we have the technology for out-of-home streaming of the Steam content.
Link, I believe, only works with like your home Wi-Fi, so like you can stream it from your computer to your console to your, to any other computer or tablet and things like that. But you're saying that you could do that for anywhere. And how'd you say that your service works in crowded places? Let's say you're at a Starbucks, you're at an airport, blah blah blah. Are you finding that like your service only works in ideal at-home Wi-Fi conditions, or?
Our DNA is constrained networks and constrained devices. Most of our top technologists all come from telecommunication and embedded technology backgrounds. So we have the only commercially running LTE cloud gaming solution out there. It's running in Japan. So and we actually did that here in the U.S. for a little while with Verizon. Verizon is looking at their game strategy right now, but we did that for a while with them, and that was all LTE. So we can deliver those games. The key there is that you're delivering to a smaller screen, and so the stream itself doesn't have to be as robust.
That's very true, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not many people are walking around with their their 30-inch monitor to their giant computer on their back. That's a rare use case.
I've seen there's only one or two of us.
Yeah, Ben does it because he's a committed gamer, but other than that, no. Okay, so you're working with, you can work with companies like that, but you're still not here in the U.S. You're still what do you?
We are here in the U.S. I just can't talk about it right now.
What are you waiting for? You can't talk about it, then you can't tell us what you're waiting for.
I'm hoping you made a deal with someone big, and we're going to see you guys everywhere, because the technology that you're describing is cutting edge. I've never even seen anything like this before, and I can safely say, mark the date, this is going to become like how games are kind of played in the future.
Yeah, we certainly see that there's a trend moving in this direction, and I think that within the next 2 generations, consoles will start shrinking down and become OTT boxes. So this is the future platform for gaming, and especially because it brings, like we talked about earlier, some really unique values. Let's take just the robust connectivity that comes with running your game off a server, in a very robust data center with a large pipe out to all of the other services in the world. So you have very reliable connections to ad networks and web services and real-time news and social networking and many other Web 2.0 services. So I could imagine the Computer America show playing in a screen inside a game.
That kind of opens up the whole connectivity thing. And are you, and I guess a lot of gaming companies and a lot of websites and otherwise, they're trying to figure out ways to connect social media in with it. So are you saying that let's say you have a game in the future and you have a bunch of Facebook friends that also play it, and you want to set up a feed specifically for that game of all the other friends on Facebook, and have kind of like a specialized social media feed like pertaining to that game, to that person inside that game?
We do that right now. So we have a feature in our platform that allows a user to drop a link into their favorite social network, and their friends can select that link. Excuse me. So, select that link and watch their gameplay, but not just watch their gameplay. They can comment into their gameplay, and if they want, join in.
Wow. That's really cool.
Again, I keep looking for real-world analogies here, and I guess the best thing is that when with Apple we had iTunes and you own the music, you download it, you had it, and now we're having Apple Music, and we're having streaming of music, and we're seeing other services which have been offering streaming music services. It seems to be that streaming really is the future of computing, not having or owning the product on your computer, but simply streaming it whenever you want it. That seems to be the direction that so many more things are going, and it sounds to me like you're complementing that industry trend.
Absolutely. It's about owning the rights to use a piece of content and then being able to access that piece of content no matter what your device is. So not being locked down to any particular device in order to play your game or listen to your piece of music.
Exactly.
I guess this whole thing kind of hinges, whenever something new like this comes out, you always have to kind of think about what technology made this possible. What technology made this possible that it wasn't there, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and what was it? And I guess nowadays it's just, like you were saying earlier, the U.S. has a long way to go. We have a lot of catch up to do compared to South Korea, China, Japan, that kind of thing, even places like Europe. But internet connectivity is almost a guarantee even in the U.S. And that's getting faster every month, every year, and that kind of thing. So you think with this increased speed, this is what is kind of allowing you to do all this.
Broadband, in other words.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we see that increase, things like Verizon Fios, they have an incredible network. We see Comcast has introduced Q gigabit, multi gigabit is what they call it, and we've got Google Fiber showing up in many places. So the network is one of the enablers, but there's also a lot of technology that's come into play. Companies like AMD and NVIDIA have invested greatly in graphics technologies meant just for this space. So there's a lot of investment, not just on the network side, but on the across the gaming community in order to make this platform start to realize.
I mean, faster graphics cards, that types of things?
Graphics cards that can handle many, multiple instances of games all running at the same time.
I believe the Titan and the Titan X line were designed just for server racks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ben is the proud owner of a Titan X.
Yeah, I want it. It's not a server, but it's like, hey, put it in there, and it kind of like it's kind of putting like a diesel engine inside like a like a Fiat. It's just kind of neither here nor there. It's
I have
awesome.
I have a lot of fun with that as well, Ben. I love to take our servers apart, and I love trying out all the different graphics cards, and it's really amazing to see the horsepower that's being provided to us.
But the horsepower in this case with Ubitus is not needed necessarily on the end user. They just all the graphics, the computation, everything is being done.
They own all the graphics cards so that you don't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can stream some of these these AAA games to a $200 Chromebook, and you're getting the same gaming experience graphics-wise that you get on a full-blown gaming PC.
Wow, that is amazing. And again, it's this streaming technology mentality, which seems to be it's like the next big thing. We're seeing it with music. We're seeing it with movies. When you go to Netflix, you don't own the movie. It's not stored on your computer. It's being streamed to you, and you can watch it as many times as you like. It all depends on the obviously the operation model that they have. But
This whole thing is starting to get scary for me because a lot of the companies that we interview here on the show, we have a lot of them that sell directly to consumers and things like that. But I mean, I guess if your technology had its way and was fully fleshed out, let's say in 10 years, people really wouldn't need anything more than a terminal to the internet and be able to stream any game you want. Like all these companies that sell gaming hardware, gaming so and so. Like I think the peripheral makers might still be okay, but like the hardware and stuff like that, the people who make the computers, this may not be the best sounding solution.
Well, I think they're making their shift as this happens as well. And their shift can happen into areas such as super high resolution screens and much faster client rendering, so that you increase your user's experience on their, as you called it, a terminal. But along the lines of talking about all of this extremely powerful hardware and extremely powerful systems that are available, that also is part of this Cloud Gaming 3.0. We look at the computational access that developers will have when developing games. Right now, a game developer has to develop a game to a platform, and if they want to reach things like PC, they have to look at how do I reach the widest audience of graphics cards when people can tweak their settings and still be able to play my game. And that's really constraining to game developers. With the advent of cloud gaming and the platform proliferation, we will be looking at game engines that will be able to create worlds that we have not yet seen at all. Worlds that are universes of games.
Yeah. And that is that comes from so many different game developers. It's like we could do all this kind of stuff, but we have to either pull back our development because we know that not everyone has that $3,000 gaming computer, or we need to we don't want to push people and limit our audience. But I guess if you're a game developer, something like this is perfect because then you don't have to pull any punches. You can kind of say, okay, no matter what, people will be able to play our game and play it on a at a decent latency, at a decent frame rate, at a decent everything, because it's not really dependent on them anymore.
Right. I mean that to me is the one of the most amazing benefits of game streaming, which is what we're talking about here. The ability to be the great equalizer, that people don't have to go out and spend a couple of $1,000s on the latest gaming hardware to play some very, very interactive and cool games. And because they don't need it. You don't have to go out and get yourself a Titan X graphics card. You don't have to get the latest, fastest processor. You don't need that with something like this. It really, truly is an equalizer. And,
correct, and not just the game developers themselves, but the game engine developers can now create engines that can do things far beyond what we see current gaming engines being able to do.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Like they just released Unreal Engine 4, I believe, and like the stuff that they could do with that is jaw dropping. But still, you have to think that they kind of had to pull it back a bit because not everyone is up to that level.
They had some constraints, and what cloud gaming brings is almost no constraints to those engines.
That's
crazy.
Really, that is crazy. That really is. Because to be a gamer, you have to make an investment in that gaming system. Otherwise, you have to tweak it. So, well, we can't have the shadows and we can't have the highlights. We have to turn this feature off. We can't make the background look as photorealistic. We have to keep turning.
The sampling is only 4x instead of 8x. The whole experience is just ruined. It's
Ruined.
awful.
But with this, you don't have to do that. You can have a standard, regular system, and you don't have to worry about the platform. You don't have to worry about any of that. Just have HTML5 browser.
And real quick, I'll be honest with you, we go on for another couple hours about this kind of thing. This stuff is awesome. But just want to get this, out there is that the rise of 4K, it's coming. We see 4K monitors all the time. There's 4K content trickling in, not at a torrent, but hey, it's out there. 4K, what does this mean for you? Because if you're dealing with streaming data, 4K can't be the easiest thing for you to handle.
Well, from our technology point of view, we're already streaming 4K content. The challenge with 4K content right now is the bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive to send that, but we can do it, and we're already doing it. At CES 2 years ago, we were showing streaming 4K games.
Wow.
So we're ready for that. The pipe isn't particularly ready for the expense of doing that, but we've looked at that model with a number of customers, and we're already in discussions of that being a premium service.
Oh, so you'll actually offer different levels. You can have the standard service, premium service will have the added value of 4K, that type of thing.
It's all possible.
You have different tiers, different levels of service, and again, it just fits into what's going on. It makes perfect sense. I mean, all the infrastructure is there. You have to make it available, and I guess it's also what people are willing to pay for that. If they want to pay a little more for the premium service because they can get 4K video, on their system because they have a 4K monitor. Great. If you have a computer that doesn't have 4K, it just has 1080p or something, and you all need is high definition, that's fine too. But we're seeing it everywhere. We see it everywhere. We see it in even in broadcasting here. We have different bandwidths now available for at different rates. So. And of course, with the music industry, we're seeing this happen now more and more, and things like Pandora and Spotify, and of course Apple Music. This just seems to me the next logical step to go.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to talk about in the future of cloud gaming and what's coming in this very next iteration.
Yep.
Very quickly touch on is the ease of migrating games across multiple screens and devices. And I talked about that a little bit earlier, where you do your development to whatever platform, PC platform, and we reach all of the other screens and platforms and devices for you. But that means cross-platform play is automatically a part of the system.
Wow.
But also, we've been doing a lot of R&D into wearables, and how do we bring wearables into the gaming environment in a way that fits well with user models for games right now and where we're going to go in the future. So how those things are going to interact with the game as well.
So you can play that MMORG on your Apple Watch or something. Exactly.
Well, maybe it's part of the game experience.
Yeah.
And because of streaming, you can take that part of that game experience with you as you do other things.
Well, John, we're pretty much out of time. Again, you can check all this out at ubitus.net, ubitus.net, or you can just go to our website at computeramerica.com. The links are right there. And you can check out all this. You can see in the background that what Ben has been showing off to you is the Ubitus website. If you're a consumer or if you're thinking about developing a game, certainly game streaming is obviously the next the next hot thing, and I'm sure they'll be happy to talk to you. John, I want to thank you. I'm sorry that you had some little throat problems here, but we got through it. and,
Sorry about that. Little allergies today.
Oh, okay. And listen, thank you so much for being with us here on Computer America tonight. Really fascinating stuff, and we should have you back soon. As things develop, especially if you start making the big
inroads into the U.S.
into the U.S.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, John, thank you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Craig. Thank you.
And be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Okay, so there you go. Ubitus.net. Really fascinating stuff.
Cloud gaming is the future, and these guys, they're the ones doing it.
Yep.
Or they're I don't say that they're the one doing the whole cloud. They're just a service, but some of the things that he's outlining that they're already doing, and especially that click to play, kind of advertising, is just out of this world.
All right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to have Hammerfall Publishing here with us. Catherine Machen is going to be here with us. Catherine Machen.
There you go.
Yeah, project lead for Hammerfall Publishing. Ben, if you're watching the live video, Ben's going to actually be streaming some of the things here first, an exclusive on the Computer America show. Also, another news test bulletin review from Marty Winston. That's all coming up in hour 2 of the Computer America show. Don't go anywhere.
What are you doing right now? Listening to a radio show, right? And why? It could be because you get to hear about new things, get more information about them than you do in typical drive-by coverage. And the way you get to hear about them is fun. That's why I like Computer America, and it's why I think you'll like the Monday through Friday hour-long Bell Ringers show when it debuts on Nationwide Radio on August 31st. Each show has 4 in-depth reports on some brand new product or service you never heard about before. They also send releases to traditional online and social media to help those debuts make news from a show that's always newer than news. And that's going to be news to anybody you know who's planning their own new launch. So please, be their hero and ours by getting them to take a look at bellringersmedia.com. That's BELLRINGERSMEDIA.com. See, that's our challenge. We don't yet have a Bell Ringers out there to help us debut Bell Ringers, but they will. Ask them to hurry. September segments are booking now.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And again, thanks to Ubitus for being here in the first hour. If you missed any portion of that interview, you certainly can listen to it again. We archive all of our shows at ComputerAmerica.com. Just go to our archives page, and you'll see all the different ways you can listen to the show. We have the links to Apple's iTunes, the RSS feeds, also the audio feeds, and we also have a link to the video feeds too. So if you were in the car or whatever, you didn't have a chance to watch what we were demonstrating, certainly you can see that we have our own YouTube channel. All that is available at ComputerAmerica.com, so we invite you to head over there and check it all out. Now again, in this next hour, we're going to be talking to Hammerfall Publishing. And if you have a comment or question, again, pick up the phone, give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. Or you can go to, if you're radio shy, you can go to ComputerAmerica.com and submit a question that way, just from the Show Lounge button. Just click that, and you'll be able to submit a question for our guests that way. So, anything else before introduce our next guest, Matt?
It pertains to our next guest, and that we'll be showing some gameplay that that again, early access. But yeah, we're not going to edit, censor, any of that kind of thing. So, Warhammer 40K Regicide is, I believe, rated M for mature, so just keep that in mind when you check out the video portion. It's nothing too bad, folks, but just had to throw it out there.
Okay. You have been. We should put that little.
You have been warned.
You have been. You have been warned. All right. So Hammerfall Publishing is a high-tech independent game development and publishing studio based in Sydney, Australia. Right. They specialize in high-definition gaming, creating cutting-edge experiences for PC, tablet, and mobile platforms. Here with us tonight to explain how this new and exciting game works is Catherine Machin, project lead for Hammerfall Publishing. Catherine, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you guys?
Doing great.
We're doing fine. I tell you, Ben has been in front of his computer for quite some time.
Doing research, thank you.
Doing research, playing this game. The intensive research, right? Exactly. More so than ever before. Just all these strange sounds coming from his room. But I have to tell you, I got a brief look at this thing, and I said, "Wow!" I said, "Isn't that like chess?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Because Ben has always been an outstanding chess player. I mean, right from school. I mean, his mom would take them to these
Books A Million.
Books A Million stores and everything, and then the seasoned chess players, she was play a game of chess with my son, and they would kind of snuff at the thing. Oh, this is a little kid, and then they would sit down to play him, and Ben would beat them. So,
just that.
Exactly. So I'm sure.
So the game was right up my alley, and I'm sure anyone out there, just putting out there, anyone out there who is a fan of chess, this is, as someone who's played it, this is going to be right up your alley as well.
So let's start off the interview because again, if you're not watching, you certainly can. At ComputerAmerica.com, just go to our show lounge, and the live video streaming will start playing, and you can just watch everything and see it for yourself. So tell us a little bit about the Warhammer 40,000 game universe for people who might not be familiar with it, and how does Regicide fit into this, Catherine?
Right. Well, Warhammer 40,000 is a very sort of gritty, dystopic universe set in the year 40,000, and its sort of main story is the fact that there are several main or key races, and pretty much everyone is at war with each other. It's an original IP from Games Workshop, originally created in the 1980s as a tabletop strategy, and it's still played today as a tabletop strategy. It's sort of branched out since then, so now it covers 400 novels. It has over 40 video games, most notably Dawn of War series, and as well, millions of models and sort of die-cast and sort of plastic-injected models that people sort of beautifully craft and paint and sort of play on the tabletop. Similar to Risk, if anyone's more familiar with that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah. As far as how Regicide fits in, Regicide is sort of described in a lot of the novels as a sort of it's like a pastime of many of the high-ranking officers, as a game that they would play actually inside the universe themselves.
So why did you decide to base this game on chess? I mean, why not just something else?
Chinese checkers.
Chinese.
Well, actually, Regicide is roughly or sort of loosely described as chess. It's described as a futuristic version of chess. So in the novels, it wasn't very specific. There's 400 different ways of playing Regicide, and in each different area they play it a little bit differently. But they include a lot of additional abilities, like things like hooded boards, where they would have to test their psychic abilities by all the pieces would be sort of invisible, so they'd have to have this sort of deep psychic sense to actually interact with the boards as well. Obviously, we've not made an absolute verbatim copy of that, but we've taken a lot of those interesting ideas from the universe and then added it to chess.
Well, I remember years ago when I remember Battle Chess. And it was like chess, but you would still have all the same moves. But when you captured a piece, then you'd watch them battle it out, and they would duke it out, and then of course your piece would, and then it would go. But you were still playing chess. It was just more animated. And so, is this like a battle chess sort of a scenario, or is it more than that?
Battle chess plus.
Battle chess.
Yeah. So it's got all of the beautiful animations and that you would see in Battle Chess, but there's actually a lot of extra abilities. It adds a whole level of new strategy to what would originally be considered Battle Chess. So it's the way that the game works is you get to move a chess piece first, so in the way that you would in a standard chess game, and then you get to unleash a whole load of different abilities. So each unit themselves have, their various different abilities, and generic ones that go across the board are things like snapshot or go to ground, which would be, to shoot a unit or to take cover almost. And then you've got extra things as well. So as well as the units having abilities, you play as a sort of off-board psychic unit as yourself, and you can have player abilities, which are situated in the bottom right-hand corner. And those allow you to do all sorts of different things, whether it is stunning the enemy or calling in an aerial bombardment and things like that too. The interesting idea was that we wanted each race to be very different. So the Space Marines are very focused on things like armor and firepower, whereas the Orcs, for instance, are terrible at shooting. They've got a terrible aim unless you're very close, in which case they're absolutely deadly.
There is something, like I was playing this game, and Space Marines they do their own thing, but there's just something satisfying about playing as playing as an orc and watching two pawns take each other, and the orc, he has a gun in his hand. You think you do what he would normally do with a gun, but then he beats him over the head, beats him in the gut, bashes him down to the ground, and beats him to death. Like it's very visceral, but it's so enjoyable.
It is fun. I think like the original strategy game is actually very deep and sort of very satisfying, but obviously visually, it would normally be very dry until we add all these really exciting different animations. And to be honest, Warhammer Universe is all about the sort of grim, dark, brutal nature of it. So we wanted to add something in like that. The way that we've made the animations, we actually had some stunt actors. We used a motion capture studio. So guys we'd put a little armor and strapped them up so they would move a little bit more inflexibly, and then gave them massive metal and rubber weapons that they would beat each other with. It's quite satisfying to watch.
So all this animation is actually performed by actors, because it's not just like I played other games like this. Craig was describing Battle Chess, and they're very canned animation sequences. And one part of this is I've played probably about a dozen games so far, and I know I haven't seen all the different animations between the two. But another thing that we should probably mention about the gameplay is that yes, you can have your pawns shoot other pawns from across the board. That adds a different level of to it all. But there's also accuracy involved, which is so infuriating, so maddening. But yet at the same time, it kind of separates itself from things like Battle Chess.
Yeah, well, I suppose as part of the tabletop, and many tabletop players will be sort of used to this, is that you'd roll some dice, and that would determine whether you've hit something or you haven't hit something, or maybe your armor has saved a particular point. So, there's a lot of sort of risk and reward that you do, because you might not always sort of make it through. So chess in itself is very deterministic. Like, you move your piece here and you will definitely take this thing, and you can sort of plan a strategy. But now it's sort of almost like the poker element, where you have to sort of gauge your risks versus the reward, and you might do something that's absolutely like suicidal, and then you can just pull it off with the skin of your teeth, and it's really success. Like, sometimes it can be very exciting, but sometimes obviously it's a bit frustrating if it doesn't quite work out. But as the nature of risk, I guess.
Yeah, for anyone watching the video, this is all the video footage that I captured, just today. And there was one that if I had a blooper reel, I would put it in there. 3 units, 3 turns, all shoot one guy. All 3 of them missed in a row, and I almost shut it off there. But I powered through, and just getting into some more of the gameplay elements. I guess we should start talking about what is going to start changing in a couple of Well, I hear there's a new patch coming up. When is that coming up? And what are some of the features of this big new patch?
So this patch will be in the US tomorrow morning. My 2 a.m. So I'm going to have a late night tonight. But it's going to be including the first act of the campaign. It's got the armory in there so that people can then choose and select different player abilities to fire off, as well as a whole load of new abilities. We've got absolutely, we've sort of gone all out on adding new abilities and stuff just to really spice up the gameplay. In particular, we've made the orcs very, very different as a race, and they have like a lot of abilities that then go and backfire. So, for instance, because the orcs are quite a comical race, so
Yeah.
There'll be an ability, for instance, called the Doc, where you can have a chance to heal your unit fully, or a chance to like cause it damage. So if your unit's about to die, you can either like sort of heal it fully, or you might kill it, and that's sort of a very orky kind of thing. And there are other things like Grot Prod, where you can poke one of your orcs. It takes a unit of health off them, but it makes them more angry and sort of increases their weapon strength. So you can, there's a lot of risk and reward with the orc side of things too. I'm trying to think of what else have we got. We've also got XP is now in the game, so you can gain XP as you go along, and as you gain XP you get levels, and each level will unlock various different factions. So tiers. So
Yeah.
the units that you're working with are all sort of tier 1 units. So as you progress and play more of the game, they sort of become visually more impressive, and they get new pauldrons and new armor plating, and it's sort of when you're playing against another person that's in multiplayer and they've got all the fancy armor, you're like, oh god, they've played a lot. So
Catherine, let me ask you this, because we're watching a little bit of what's going on in the video right now. Ben is actually playing the game so we can see it. I wanted to take a step back, and that is I want to understand the concept. I mean, with all these different variables that you're talking about, but does the game of chess, the rules of chess, are they sacrosanct? In other words, they're what determine the game. I mean, if I'm gonna, I've got my rook is gonna go and take a pawn with all the armor in the world. That piece is taken. I mean, that's how battle chess works. I mean, do you stick with the rules of chess in this game, or do you vary from them?
yeah, so this is the interesting thing. So you can still take a queen with a pawn, for instance, or so all of those sort of various different rules like promotion and en passant and castling and all of those still actually work and are in the game. So because we've separated it into layers, so the chess interaction that you do first remains the same, and then you do what would be the additional level of strategy over the top. So you do your sort of your turn is in 2 phases. Your first phase is the sort of chess moves, and your second phase is then all of these extra abilities. The only thing is that it does affect the way that you do play chess. So for instance, if you would power through and charge into the other army, and then you find that all of the units are then shooting at your piece that you've sort of put into danger, and it may die, even if it's a great chess position, it might be a terrible regicide position. So it's sort of something you have to take into account. But also there's a lot of scenarios where when you're playing chess, you might make a fatal move, and you can sort of pull it back a little bit by using your abilities really well. And we found actually interesting, we've got people that are like sort of chess grandmasters playing it, and seeing how they play it versus someone that is maybe like more into their tacticals or strategy games. Like they each are actually excellent at doing it, and the combination of the two and watching those two different styles of play, it's actually sort of brings out the best in the multiplayer aspect of the game.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. I still don't quite have an answer to my question. Let's say I have a chess player who is a grandmaster and is and he's playing this game, and the other person is just an average. Let's say just not a grandmaster, but just a master of chess.
Your average, Craig.
Yeah. I mean, does the average player have a chance of winning against the grandmaster, or because it's following the rules of chess, all the blowing up, all the thing isn't going to help the person who's less experienced in the game of chess? That's what I want. I'm trying to find.
Well, if we've seen lots of people that are very good at chess fail miserably at the game, because you do have to, you can't just you can't really go in there with the chess mentality and just play it like chess, because the game Regicide, I must add, we do have two different modes. So you can play classic mode, which is just straight up chess, but with all of these additional abilities, you could pull off a win against a grandmaster if you knew how to use your abilities correctly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
that's actually the first thing that I ran into when I first started playing this game, was that I started treating it like chess, and I would put a piece out in the front in the middle of nowhere and be like, okay, well, he's not in any immediate danger, and then I would get gunned down by 4 orcs, and I'd be like, all right, so that's not a safe move. It's taking the best of both worlds, and what works in chess doesn't necessarily work in Regicide.
Mm.
Okay, now you can. Catherine said that you can make it so it's like a pure chess game, and so you could be in the middle there, and no one's going to kill you. But if you want to take advantages of all the subtleties of Regicide, and you turn that on, then you have a whole different.
Well,
game.
there are two different modes. It's not like you can loosely switch from one to the other, but in each mode.
Mm-hmm. Each one. Okay.
That's right. So you can start, for instance, on the main game menu when you start a skirmish. At the top, there's 2 tabs, so you can choose the Regicide tab or you can choose the Classic tab, depending on which kind of game. Because we've got a lot of players that like both modes for different reasons, I suppose. And what's nice is that we're getting a lot of feedback from people saying that they've never necessarily considered themselves people that would normally like this kind of game. It's sort of been a bit of a surprise to them.
Yeah. For anyone watching our video yet again, right now we're playing Regicide. I have later in the hour, I have a game where I just play normal chess, and it's still fun. I find myself easily being able to swap between the two, because even when you're playing just the normal chess, you still get all the animations. You still get the pieces still look like Warhammer, but every time you take a piece, it's now a kill animation. You have you have guys with jetpacks throwing grenades, jumping on them, sawing them in half. Like you still get all the visual stimulation of Warhammer, but it's just traditional chess.
Yeah, it is, and again, if you're watching, you can see this. All right, so now what we're watching is the version that's going to be released in the U.S. tomorrow. Is that what we're watching?
Yes.
That's correct. So this is sort of exclusive sneak peek access of what's coming in the game. Obviously, this is a skirmish mode, which is currently already available, but there's also campaign missions, which are a little bit more sort of puzzle-like elements. And what's interesting is that there's not just pieces on the board, but there's things like barricades, and also the various different objectives are different. So, for instance, a standard or straight-up Regicide game will be to kill or capture the king unit. In this case, it's a captain or a war boss, depending on whether you're playing orcs or space marines. Whereas the campaign actually uses, so we had to make a unique artificial intelligence engine called the Codex engine, and that actually doesn't just cope with things like checkmate as an objective. It has lots of various different things. So, for instance, you could have a win objective, which is for you either have to kill 3 of the enemy's pawns or they have to kill 3 of yours. So the game becomes instantly very different because of the way that you're trying to interact with things. There's other ones where, for instance, you have to protect a certain square or a tile, or you have to get a unit to another tile. So, and we've got other things coming later, sort of like a capture the flag element as well, which is always really interesting when you see the way that we test these things is we get the AI to play against itself, and it's actually really interesting the way that it interacts with itself.
If I'm a parent and I want to teach my child chess,
yes, it is this 100%.
You could do that. You could use more.
All the graphics intact, everything perfect. Chess will make an impression.
Look, I think It's actually inherently a useful sort of area. Obviously, I think a lot of people think that the chess is more for sort of the more mature generations, but actually we've found that actually a majority of our players are a lot younger.
Oh, no,
Of course, it's an emulated game, so I suppose it's all dependent on
no,
you know how.
we see children's chess all the time. I mean, involved with it. So this certainly would be something a little different. I mean, you see chess clubs, very very young children learning chess at a very young age. But now I guess all this technology is starting to make making it more of an entertainment, for more entertainment value. It's not just dry. Oh, I'm capturing this pawn, or I'm getting the bishop, and whatever. I guess it's two mentalities. I guess some people might say, well, now you're not enjoying the true chess game for what it was, but maybe something like this. I mean, something like this obviously has entertainment value. There's no question about it. So I'm just wondering. Again, if I'm speaking, let's say, as a parent who's thinking of getting something like this for their kid who wants them to learn chess, this would be kind of a unique gift. It'd certainly be a certain way of doing it.
Obviously, as I said, like it is an M-rated game, so but it really depends on it's not like you can't play it if you're under that age. I suppose it's up to you. It's a great way of teaching people, I think, and. We live in an age where everything is like 100 miles an hour. Everyone's got 3 screens open. They are playing games. They've got a lot of high adrenaline activities going on. And if you want to get someone to really focus on understanding and sort of building themselves tactically, because one interesting thing about games like this is that they it's been proven scientifically that it increases the sort of malleability of your sort of brain processes. So people are using it to overcome, things like dementia and things like later on in life. But also for younger children, it's quite a thoughtful game if you really get into it. And the idea is that you're sitting there and you're trying to sort of process all these things. It increases and improves your sort of problem-solving abilities and I imagine that it's going to be very good for them as far as a mental exercise.
No, I agree with you completely. I certainly think that it more so. I mean, if they're going to have a game, why not do something where where strategy really takes precedent? And this certainly does it. What's been the feedback? I know I get the feedback from Ben, but from other players too. What kind of feedback are you getting from players with this?
Look, we've been just so overwhelmed with positive feedback. It's currently rated 9 out of 10 on Steam, and it's I think we were all a little bit uncertain about how everyone would take it, but everyone has been sort of really great in the community. They've really enjoyed playing it, and we've got a really solid community base as well, sort of forming around this game of people that really want to help us out because we're quite a small studio, and this is effectively our first title under Hammerfall Publishing too. So it's really great to sort of have everyone involved and supporting us too.
Well, okay. So when is the actual final launch going to be?
So it's quite terrifying. Next month, so the 26th of August, which is terrifying but exciting also. So we've got a few interesting things coming before we get there. So we are looking to add in a few extra features, things like new rewards and extra sort of player stats, things like leaderboards and those kind of things. But effectively, the main and the big thing we're going to be doing is the full campaign, which is sort of 50 missions. The full campaign, when it's launched, will all be narrated as well. At the moment, it's just text only, but we've got voice actors, and they've sort of all been recording, so we're sort of madly trying to get everything together. And all the levels have been designed at this stage, and we're sort of testing through. But so the idea is that you get sort of a little bit of a piece of the puzzle effectively to play through, and then an aspect of the story, and it sort of takes you through almost like a sort of puzzle novel. It's cool.
Yeah, a little bit later on, we're going to have like the first. I think I played through like the first 3 or 4 campaign missions, and it has a nice little cinematic, guy going crazy, love it. and then it kind of puts you into these problem-solving tools, and it's reminiscent of some of the things that I've seen. But I think that's where Craig was asking about, what is the, kind of what could be the benefit of something like this, and I think that's where it comes in, where you get these puzzles, and like, let's say you have school kids who want to, you want to get them interested in chess club or things like that, plop them down and say, okay, you have 5 moves, take these 3 pieces, and have at it. And it's there's no one right way to do it, because traditionally with the chess puzzles, you had 1 or 2 proper ways, but with regicide, it kind of turns on its head and say, well, there's a little bit of luck involved. There's a little, there's some real-time strategy, but there's always the basis of chess that you can always rely on. So it's much more thought-provoking than any other chess that I've played.
Yeah, I mean, it uses, so, as far as the things and the skills that you learn, as well as obviously problem solving and sort of learning to get your head around the strategy, is then sort of risk analysis, whether, you could go all guns blazing and will that work. And part of the idea of the game is that it gives you a percentage probability of whether something will be successful or not. So, you have to sort of balance it up, and you may not be successful the first time around, but you may find another way of going around it or improving your performance. It's I think it's certainly, I've found that congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And by the way, the AI, I don't know what you based your AI on, but your grandmaster, like your highest one, not impossible, but very, very challenging.
That's good. Yeah. I think the regicide mode has obviously is probably a little bit easier to sort of master versus the actual pure chess one, which I'm still trying to beat it, but just
no
worry.
Catherine, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take a little break, and then we'll continue on. Ben and I are talking to Catherine Machin. She is the project lead for Hammerfall Publishing. We're talking about Warhammer.
Regicide.
And Regicide. We'll be right back. I got a news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston as well. Stay tuned for more Computer America. Don't go anywhere.
This is a commercial, so okay, some of you can take a minute for a bathroom break, but if you're in marketing at a company or an agency and you're launching a new product or new service anytime on or after August 31st, this is important. Take a look at bellringersmedia.com. It's a game changer. I'll kill a few seconds so you can grab something to write down that URL. SlashGear, same-day guaranteed full coverage on a top 5 online news site. Business Wire, PR Newswire, and PR web releases to traditional and online and social media. Full segment coverage on our nationwide radio show over so many stations that more than 50 million people can tune us in. Plus an annual production budget of more than $10 million. So you know it's going to be more polished and higher energy than anything else on radio. Ready for that URL? It's bellringersmedia.com. That's bellringersmedia.com. But hurry, September segments are booking now.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
No one else can hear us, right? Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time the Honeywell DH50W 50-pint dehumidifier. We try to keep our crosshairs on avoidable workspace interruptions and other productivity reducers, so we got in the double whammy of a Honeywell DH50W dehumidifier. The 50-pint rating is how much water it can condense in 24 hours. 45 to 50 pints from most rooms and 50 to 70 pints from basements or large rooms. Its handle-equipped tank holds a bit over 14 pints. And there's an auto shut-off when it's full, or it has a garden hose fitting that allows continuous draining. This dehumidifier is big on intelligence and convenience features. A digital humidistat that lets you set a target humidity, automatic on-off timer, automatic low-temperature defrost, 2 fan speeds, a washable air filter, and automatic recovery after power failures. Bottom line, you can explain that you're buying it to prevent mold and mildew. But the real reason for a Honeywell DH50W is that both your work and its caretaking are no sweat. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Second hour, we are in our final stretch of the show, and we are talking to Catherine Machen here, who is the project lead for Hammerfall Publishing for Warhammer 40k Regicide. And right now, as we promised a little bit earlier, is we're going to play through the first couple missions of the campaign. Again, they're puzzles. It's nothing too complicated, nothing too hard to grasp. But at the same time, how do you think do you think adding a campaign was necessary to because the basic game concept is pretty straightforward. Did you think a campaign was important?
Absolutely. Like I think a lot of people. It depends how you play the game and what platform. So Regicide is going to be cross-platform. So we're actually we're on Steam PC at the moment, but we're also going to be launching, doing a sort of conversion and launching it then on mobile and tablet, and it's all cross-platform as well. So the same account that you log in with, you can log in on the PC or your mobile and carry on and playing. You don't lose any of your saved data, but a lot of these sort of little puzzle elements are going to be really sort of well suited for, when we move over to mobile and tablet. And I can sort of just imagine a lot of people sort of sitting in front of the TV, chilling out, playing a few rounds and sort of working their way through. And also, I suppose the game in itself doesn't have a lot of narrative because it's just raw strategy and tactics. And for us, sort of to be a bit more respectful to the Warhammer 40k universe, because it is all about the narrative and it's all about the story, and everything is steeped in sort of not mystery, but there's sort of ancient lore and history and all of these sort of things. And as I mentioned, hundreds of novels written by about all the different characters and stuff. So we wanted to bring some of that element into the game as well.
So are you setting these pieces up as a puzzle? I mean, I know, for example, in chess, you can they'll take different chess pieces and just put them out, and then they proceed to play the game from that point. Is that what you're doing, or is this something completely different?
This is completely different in the sense of the objectives. As I mentioned a little bit earlier. So here, for instance, the objective is to kill, I think, 3 of the enemy pawns.
Okay.
Whereas, with a chess puzzle, it would always be checkmate, 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 checkmate. So the engine now copes with all of these new abilities and things, and actually it really spices it up. But at the same time, it still holds true to some of its original values, but it's got so much more, I guess. It's kind of like Chess Plus, I guess.
Do you have people on your staff that are chess experts that are contributing to? I mean, I understand you have coders, you have graphic artists, but the actual engine or the artificial intelligence engine, do you have chess people on board with you, or to develop these different games there at Hammerfall Publishing?
Oh, absolutely. So, we have, fortunately, just down the road, the #1 Grandmaster in Australia has been sort of coming in and consulting with us, but also the guy that Balance, who had created the AI is an experienced chess coder, because it's in its own almost unique. It's called UCI language, so it's very unique to sort of chess engine. So it's something that you have to have a lot of experience to be able to create something like this.
Yeah, you can tell that you didn't just grab like, yeah, here the copy guy. He's pretty good. We just have him, come on in. No, the AI. I mean, at easy difficulties makes very obvious mistakes. So for first timers, someone who's never played chess, it's not going to punish you for every little learning mistake, and the computer is going to leave you a lot of opportunities to see, okay, they did this, they shouldn't have done this, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, it's the computer can go up to a point where it's it's exactly punishing, and it's challenging for someone who may be an expert at that point.
That's right. I mean, I guess it's important for people not necessarily to be intimidated or scared about what they're going to go in to do. As far as there's a lot of people that may be a little bit off-put by the sort of core principles. But it's not necessarily something that it sort of gives you a nice, easy introduction to it. As with any sort of strategy game, we didn't want it to sort of hammer everyone, right from the beginning. So we've added a nice gradient ramp so that we hope that it brings a lot of Warhammer fans into playing chess, but I suppose a lot of chess fans into playing Warhammer too.
I would think so. Ben's actually. He beat the last game too, so I don't know if you're on the simple level. But
No. These are the actual campaign that are going to be launching tomorrow. I guess tomorrow night. Yeah. These are the campaign that's going to be launching tomorrow night. There are, I believe, you only released the first chapter so far, so 10 missions.
That's correct. So the campaign is split into 3 acts. Act 1 is going to be released tomorrow. And the other 40 missions will be released on launch, which is 26th of August. So there's a lot of content coming at the end, but we just wanted to have a little sample in the middle just to sort of see, because we're currently in early access, so it was all about allowing players to try and test the game and give us feedback, so that when we do move to full launch, we can sort of really have it perfect and down packed.
Catherine, tell me a little bit about who you think this game is going to appeal to.
Well, originally we thought, it was going to be, predominantly Warhammer fans, but what we've found is that we've had a lot of people outside of the universe sort of coming in and joining us, which is really exciting. As far as demographics go, we've got a huge amount of Russian players that we weren't necessarily expecting. I suppose it makes a lot. Yeah, and
well, we've got big in Russia. I guess that would certainly make a lot of sense.
Chess is huge in Russia.
It's huge.
And Warhammer is massive in Russia too, so it's a double whammy. But we have some players that play literally 40 hours a week. They're still going, so it's amazing. They play this, not obviously just community members that we can see in the game regularly, and it's always interesting. It's nice to know that people are enjoying it, I guess.
Now this is not like I know a lot of times Ben will be playing something, and I'll say, hey Ben, can you come? And you say, no, you can't pause the game because you have other gamers. Now, is this a game that you can pause, or is this a campaign where you have to play because you're playing along with other people?
So both.
Don't blow my cover. You need to sit here and play this throughout.
So it's a bit of both. So the skirmish missions, which you play, all the single-player stuff, you can take your time with. It's quite a thoughtful game in many respects. You have to sit and sort of really think about what you're doing before you sort of make a mistake. Mm-hmm. So that aspect. But then multiplayer, we've actually added a live multiplayer. So there's a countdown timer. So you have to make those moves, and you have that pressure to sort of choose what you're doing, and that's quite exciting as well. You're sort of down to your last couple of seconds, and if you don't make a move, you basically forfeit the game, so you lose. So it's sort of extra pressure as well.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about you. What's your role on the team here, Catherine? I know you're.
All right.
Tell us a little bit what you do.
Okay, so I look after everyone, I guess, and look after every aspect of the game. all the way through from setting up initial contracts all the way through to the actual publishing and setting up advertising and PR. So I guess we're a very small team, so everyone has to do it, learn how to do everything anyway. But I'm generally the sort of coordinator of everybody. I've got obviously a core team here, and we've got individual outsourced contractors all over the world as well, because there are aspects that we wanted in a particular way, so we had to go to a particular person. Some of the art style, for instance, we wanted a particular concept artist, maybe based in the US or in Europe. So it's been coordinating with all of these different pinpoints around the globe and sort of trying to bring it all together in time.
So now, for someone, let's say, works in the restaurant industry, they work at a restaurant, and you always ask the question, well, will you eat at the restaurant, that you work at? I guess here's my point here. I mean, are you an avid player here? Do you play Warhammer a lot, or is it just how involved are you on a personal level playing these games?
Look, I absolutely love Warhammer, and certainly I spent a lot of time. Obviously, at the moment, we're currentently falling into crunch, which for anyone outside of the industry might not be aware of that, but that's basically where we work very long hours just to make sure that we because it's like a piece of art in the sense of when is it finished? There's no sort of core finish line. There's always stuff you can improve and add, and it's we're trying to get in as much, or sort of cram in as much sort of like polish and like functionality before we go. So I must admit, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've not done a lot of playing, but typically speaking, I mean, we all play Regicide quite a lot, obviously, naturally in the office, but I'm a massive fan of the Dawn of War and the Space Marines and games, and there's quite a few that have come out on tablet and iOS as well with Games Workshop. They're releasing a load. I think the last thing I played was Snotling Fling, which was kind of fun. We had to fling these little snotlings around there to knock something over. So they've got the interesting thing about Games Workshop is that they're big. They're kind of like the biggest niche you could ever imagine. So it's they've got lots and lots of games on the go as well. So they sort of are releasing quite a few every month as well, which is it's nice if you're a big fan of the universe. You can get to play lots of different styles of games.
Mm-hmm. And now the strategy games that you're playing against the computer, or can you play those against other people?
So the Regicide comes as the actual campaign missions are all single player, but the multiplayer mode, obviously you can play against other people, and we've actually added a new mode in called Hot Seat, so you can have 2 people in the same room and you can make a move and then it'll spin the board around and then the next person can take their move, or you can play against yourself and lose. As I've done. But yeah, so there's all of those. We've got lots of different things. I mean, it's interesting because originally we never made plans for things like Hot Seat, but through going through early access, it's opened us up to a lot of feedback from players, and one of the key things they were like, get a Hot Seat in, we want to see it. So we changed and sort of pulled our team together and sort of sat down and worked out how we were going to do it, and then sort of it's ended up in the game, which is really cool. And I'm watching Ben doing victory after victory after victory. He's really breezing through this here. Is this typical, or is it?
No. At that point, I was skipping all the animations. Sometimes, it could get tedious if you have to sit there through all the animation. I mean, it's fun, but sometimes you just want to skip ahead, press the space bar, and you're good to go. And very nice feature. And
it allows you to do that. You're not forcing them to watch the animations. You actually let them go through the puzzle.
We had a ability section, so you can actually, if you click on the left-hand side where it's got loadouts, you can sort of remove them, and then you can also add them if you unlock and purchase. So as you gain XP, you get skill points, and then you can purchase these various different abilities that can do really cool, crazy stuff. So as you carry on playing, you can sort of unlock more, and then it gives you, the idea is that all the abilities in themselves are, the idea is that they're evenly balanced to a degree, but it really depends on how you like to play.
Yeah, exactly.
So Yeah, so it makes it interesting. Obviously, I am a very defensive player, so I always get things like shields and heals and also a sail, which is to stun the other units so they can't do any abilities, which is a bit cheeky. But there are people in the office that like close combat and will yeah, just don't get close to them, stay as far back as possible.
Yeah, and that's one thing that that is about to be released is that you can choose from different abilities, and that's that's one thing that is going to differentiate itself in the multiplayer is that like you said earlier, the pieces they all pretty much have a preset thing. Pawns will always have grenades, and
Oh, just a warning. You're actually on our development server, not the live server, so you won't find any matches.
I was looking. I was like, maybe I can get a developer to play a game with me, but there were none. No, they weren't. They were just showing people that you will have a matchmaking thing. So another nice feature is that for anyone out there who's tried to play chess, I've tried to just play chess because I was bored, and you can go online and you can find of course these little holes in the internet where everyone is a grandmaster for some reason. They're all really good at chess. But I feel like Regicide is going to bring something nice in that you're going to bring together a lot of people who who just want to play this game. But for any chess fans out there, it's hard to find people online who want to play chess and maybe even at your level. This is going to bring together, a ton of people at tons of different levels.
Yeah, we do have both Regicide and the classic mode have what would be an ELO, which is your sort of player strength. So the engine the sort of networking will automatically try and match you with someone that's of a similar level to you. Obviously, it might not always be the case, but then if you do overcome someone that is very, very good at the game, then your ELO boosts as well. So it sort of balances itself out as you go through. I guess I've just lost my train of thought then.
Well, this kind of this lets people who let's say you're a very, very good chess player, you don't have to sit there and play against people who offer no challenge, because that in some regards is no fun. And then if you're a beginner, you don't have to sit there and lose every single game, because eventually you're going to find someone who is at your level, and then you get to play with people and have a fun game. It's not mixing the two. Of course you can go into probably unranked and mix with anyone you want, but you're not forcing people to just lose every single game or win every single game.
Yeah, that's right. And what's interesting is because the game is entirely cross-platform, so you can. It means that people who are playing on tablets or mobile devices can play against people playing PC. So every time we add a new platform, it's more people to add into the pool to play with. So the idea is that as we go through and we add 3 or 4 different platforms, that the multiplayer is always going to be full, because there's always going to be people depending on different devices. So it really strengthens the game for every platform we add, which is a sort of a unique thing about Regicide, I guess.
Catherine, what's the minimum requirements? What kind of computer do you need to play this game?
I will have to double check on that one, but certainly, you can turn. One of the key things for us is because we wanted to make give people the ability to turn down their settings. So we've actually got a full array of settings. If you press the little cog in the corner, you can sort of turn everything down, and we've had people, playing on very old laptops and PCs with the graphics quality settings turned down, or to be absolutely honest, we might just talk to the guy from the cloud computing thing and have it all on high as well.
Yeah, you heard that. Yeah, exactly.
I was going through the settings, and for me, the minimum settings, they're very, very accessible. If you have a PC made in the last 6 years, I think you'll be okay. But for me, the maximum settings were the interesting thing, is because the character models got so much better, the animations got so much so much more particles to them. The max settings, this game looks gorgeous on high settings.
Yeah, we made the models to like what we would personally consider like film quality, because PCs and technology are moving. So it's a habit of game developers. You obviously want it to be fast, and you want to to be very economical about the way that you produce games, because games are very hard to produce. But we wanted the game to have longevity, so we sort of went that extra level on sort of souping up all of the graphics and making everything look great. So. And that's also why we've added so many different settings to either increase or decrease depending on what your computer can cope with. Like as a base level, we expect sort of a 2.4 gigahertz dual core PC, which isn't crazy. It's obviously not super old, but I think it's sort of achievable for most people. And to be absolutely frank, these are what we'd consider. You'd have a decent game with something along those lines. Whereas, we definitely have players who've, said that they can play successfully on significantly lower specs as well.
This is going to be compatible, obviously, with Windows 10 that's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know actually. I'll have to get a copy and test it, but. I suppose it's part of the joys of early access is that we can, we do updates very, very regularly, and even after we go into full launch, we're not going to leave the game to sort of, we're not going to leave the game. We're going to be doing continually updates, not just to, increase and improve things, but also there are always changes, things like new operating systems or, new even graphics drivers and things that might change something. So. We're keen on supporting this game all the way through, and especially since we are going to continue developing, but on different platforms. It's sort of, whilst we might not be focusing on PC in the next few months, that's quite a cool animation. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at the, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just basically going to say that we're going to be supporting the game for quite a few years now. So. And also, I mean, if anyone listening does end up playing and finds anything that they want to improve, we really are open to people coming and talking to us. The Steam forums are really active, and drop us a line. We're always sort of free and willing to talk to people.
So what I realize it's a little early to ask this because you're just coming out with this tomorrow, but you have plans for a sequel or other games set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe?
We've obviously got a lot of really, really beautiful assets, and I think it would almost be a shame not to do anything. Although right at this stage we've not got any solid plans, but just watch this space. I mean, we've had a lot of fans asking us if we're going to make anything new or anything else, and I guess it's something that's on all of our minds, but nothing yet set in stone.
Oh, what's the price going to be for this game? What's going to come out for?
Right. Okay. So it'll be $14.99, I believe, and that's sort of the full price, and you get a lot of items in there. There are one or two things that you can unlock within the game. You can either sort of work your way through sort of earning stuff to unlock them, or you can sort of have smaller purchases, but generally speaking there really aren't that many in the game, so pretty much the full price will take you all the way through the game.
Okay, so there are added-on features that you can purchase or equipment, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that a lot of users were asking was that they wanted additional factions, new races, and those kind of things. So, as we go through, we've got a sort of 2-year development plan. We'll be sort of listening to users and sort of adding new content in there, and certainly a lot of sort of exciting DLC expansions, maybe new campaigns and things like that too.
Sure. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, just like you have the Warhammer universe, it's tied to this. The thing that immediately leaps to my mind is Blizzard with their Warcraft universe and Hearthstone, which is kind of like a strategy card game, and people really seem to enjoy the fact that it was all their favorite heroes, it was all their favorite things, and like they could buy cards if they wanted to, they didn't have to, and like there was a lot of integration. So let's say there's a veteran of the Warhammer universe, are they going to see Easter eggs, or are they going to see tip of the hat to some of the old games?
With regards to within the universe, well, I suppose I suppose it's all based on a game anyway, as far as the tabletop is concerned. But certainly, I mean, a lot of the games are based on different areas of the 40K universe. I suppose Regicide is pretty much in its own little bubble.
Okay.
But we are going to be adding, we are getting a lot more feedback from players that, actually, to be honest, almost daily I have people saying, please add this Space Marine, please add the Ultramarines, please add the Salamanders, or, whatever it might be. And certainly we're going to be listening to those guys and working that out. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing it all come together.
Well, Catherine, listen, I want to thank you for being here tonight. This has been very enlightening, and it looks like a lot of fun, and that's what it's all about. I know Ben loves the game, and
what's not to love?
and
oh my God.
and I want you to, and again, after a little time, we can have you back again and talk more about this. But it was a real pleasure having you here on the show, and thanks so much. I know you're just kind of starting your day. It's
it's glorious sunshine outside, by the way, and it breaks your brain a little bit with the time difference. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you guys.
All right, Catherine Machin, again, project lead for Hammerfall Publishing. Thanks for being with us here on the Computer America Show. You have a good day. All right.
Have a good night, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. All right, so there you go. Again, Hammerfall Publishing. You can go to the website and check it out at Warhammer.
Check it out on really the best way to get it right now, because it is only on early
90
access.
seconds.
Is through the Steam platform. So Steam, Warhammer 40K, Regicide, it'll pop right up. And she said $14.99. I'm not sure if it's an early access perk, but you can pick it up right now for $1 less. So $13.99.
All right, tomorrow night we're going to have Bareed Seth
60 seconds.
with team chat and how it works. It sounds basically what it says. It's chatting, but with lots of people. With all.
That's actually a service I've been using for like half a decade now.
Right, exactly. We're going to be on the show. And then an hour 2, it's the last Wednesday of the month. Dick DiBartolo, you know him as the Gizwiz and Mad Magazine's maddest writer, is going to be here talking about some of the cool things that he finds on the internet. It's always a fun show, and hopefully you will be with us here tomorrow night, and we'll be here waiting for you. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
Let's play some chess.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody. Again, thanks for watching our Google Hangouts. Hopefully you enjoyed all the action tonight. And Ben and I will see you tomorrow night with Team Chat, and then Dick DiBartolo, the Gizwiz. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.